Please, alchemist, open your mind to the great psychosomatic web that connects all living minds. I have a thought-form message I'd like to send to you. Did you get that? I'm sure you did, but if you didn't, perhaps it would be best to subscribe to the channel and like the video so we can grow even more connected. After all, a connection with me is the best thing you can do to calm your tired mind. Okay, that garbage aside, hey, welcome to my final Moonstone Island tier list. The Psychic tier list, the one we're all been waiting for. Probably the most insane cards in the game are found in Psychic, even more insane than that introduction. So let's just get into it. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of fascinating cards to go through here. And we're going to start off with probably the worst card in the Psychic element, Afterthought. Right into the D tier it goes. 1 energy, deal damage equal to double the number of cards in your discard pile. The problem with this is that a good Moonstone Island deck is exactly 24 cards, and like 20 of those cards exhaust themselves. So you're not really going to be piling up a large discard pile. This is never going to be particularly efficient, and even if you go all in on the gimmick, it'll be outscaled by cards that just deal damage based on power. You're never going to have a deck big enough to scale hard enough to make this card worth playing. It truly was in Afterthought when the designers came up with it. Next up we have Calm Spirit. Apply 2 charm, remove 2 armor, draw 2 cards for 1. I would pay 2 mana just to apply 2 calm, honestly. What calm does is it's like Tangle was for poison, but instead of blocking skills, it blocks attack cards from being played. So you play this card, and for 2 turns, the enemy can't play any attacks. In any element other than spirit, than psychic, they're all spirits, this would be an S tier card. But in the context of psychic, I think I can only put it in the A tier. Drawing 2 cards and applying 2 calm for 1 is insanely efficient. But just being efficient isn't enough to be an S tier psychic card, and you can kind of just ignore the 2 armor. Next up we have Clear Head. Draw 5 cards, keep any that cost 0 energy, discard the rest for 1. There's a lot of good cards in the game that cost 0, an incredible number of them, in fact. If you build your deck around this, you might get to keep 4 or 5 cards. 4 or 5 cards drawn for 1 is crazy good. If your deck's not built for it and you discard all the cards, well then you just wasted a bunch of cards. So incredibly deck dependent, could be incredibly good. Again, in any other element, I'd probably put this high A, maybe even S. But in Psychic, it's a B tier card. We've got way better, less conditional draw cards that we're going to get to later, and Clear Head just doesn't really make the cut compared to some of those. Alright, great. Next is Divination Plus. 1 energy, start your next turn with 2 extra energy. Wow, 2 extra energy? Think of all the stuff I could do. Yeah, but you could just do that stuff this turn. There's way better energy cheat cards. Another D tier card. We're not playing delayed gratification in a Psychic deck. We want our power, and we want it now. And we're going to get that power from the next card on the list, Enlighten Plus. 1 energy, exhaust, triple your energy. So if this is the first card you play in the turn, then you go from 3 energy to 2 energy, triple that to 6. Suddenly you have double your starting energy to play with, and if you play under your energy buff cards, it just scales on and on from there. S tier. absolute insanity. We're going to see some combos for it later that just make this an incredibly broken card. Not a combo card for it, though, is Free Thought Plus. 0 energy, deal 0.5x power psychic damage. It's infinite efficiency, but we don't really care about efficiency in Psychic. We're going to call that a C tier card. I guess it's good for your Clear Mind combo deck, but you still have to, get lucky enough to draw into it. And at the end of the day, we don't really care about spending energy if we're running Psychic Spirits. So, free things aren't that interesting to us. We'd be happy to play a 20 cost card if it was more efficient than this. Alright, next on the list is Intangible Plus. Apply 1 Intangible for 1. And what Intangible does is that it ticks down once every turn, and while you have it, all damage you take is reduced to 1. So if someone hits you with a single hit 20 damage move, you take 1 damage. If someone hits you with a move that deals 5 damage 3 times, you take 3 damage. Pretty powerful defensive plan. You run this in the deck, you can block some crazy powerful hits. We're going to toss that in the A tier. Just a nice little defensive plan to have, a good little support card. If you're not going completely broken with it and you plan to actually let the enemy get turns, this is a good way to survive those turns. Great. Let Go Plus is the next card on the list. 1 energy, choose 1 card to discard, gain its cost as energy. So another conditional energy generation card. Once again, if this was in any other element, I'd probably call it an A tier card. But within the context of Psychic, it's not even an average card. It's a C rank for me. You don't want to be throwing away your expensive cards. You want to be playing them. So we're going to drop down here. You have to at least discard a card that costs 2 energy to even go energy positive on it. And the card exhausts itself. You're just thinning your deck to no end. Now, here's where things start to get crazy. 0 energy, meditate plus. Retain, exhaust, draw 2 cards. Another S tier option. Not as good as Nightfall was in the dark list, but that retain gives us some flexibility. You don't have to play the meditate the turn you draw it. You can sit on it for a couple turns until you need to cycle through your hand. Or if you got a bunch of meditates in the deck, you can just, for free, cycle through your whole damn deck in just 1 turn. This gives you absolutely insane reach. It's flexible. It's powerful. It's a little engine all into itself. It can't get anything but the S tier. Another absolutely insane Psychic card. And after a short detour into some trash, we're going to talk about some further insanity. Speaking of that trash, though, I mean, yeah, I can't really defend Memorize Plus. 2 energy, deal 2x power psychic damage. It's just a standard damage card. It's expensive. It's less efficient than a tackle. Why would you play this? I guess you can afford to play it. So it'll get the C tier instead of the D tier it would get in any other class. But, like, we can do better. We can do better. It's just the long and short of it. Yeah. Next up is Mentalist Plus, a 1 energy skill. Draw 3 skill cards from your draw or discard pile. Targeted draw is awesome. A tier card. You stack your deck with some nice skills. Make sure that they're all pretty powerful. You play this card, you get a pretty powerful option. If you only have a few skills in your deck, it's pretty good targeted draw, but even if you don't, it's 3 cards of a specific type for 1 energy. That's efficiency, baby. Alright, Mind Blast Plus is coming up next, and I don't mind this card. It's a perfectly serviceable B tier card. 2 energy, deal 2x power psychic damage to all enemy. Seems to be about right for one of these AoE cards. It's just a standard AoE card that every element gets. It's a little expensive, but you can afford to play it in Psychic. It's fine. Mind Spike Plus is next on the list, and it is just deal 2x power psychic damage, remove 1 armor. 1 energy. Exhausts itself. So it's basically just a tackle plus. The 1 armor is pretty much never relevant, but hey, it sure is nice that it exhausts itself. In, once again, any other element, I'd put this in the A tier. It's a psychic card, it's a B tier. You're not playing Psychic to actually do damage. Psychic is a support engine for the more powerful damage dealing classes, and it accelerates your game plan incredibly. It's just a good option to play. Cards like the next on the list, Mind's Eye, the hidden secret 5-star Psychic card, 0 energy exhaust, gain 10 energy. Yep. S tier card. This is probably the best card in the whole game. Only competes with Nightfall and another card coming in a couple. This is just an absolutely insane engine. You play this, you play the card that triples your energy, you suddenly have like, oh god, 34, 35 plus energy. If you combo a couple of these before you do that, you can energy cap incredibly easily. Yeah, if you see this card, take it. There's absolutely no downside. It enables insane turn. Pretty much every 1-turn KO deck I've ever played has made incredible use of this card, as well as Enlighten. Just an absolutely incredible piece. Let's put it right up to the top of the list, actually. Honestly, yeah, because they synergize. I think this is the stronger part of the synergy, because you don't really want to play Enlighten until you inflate your energy. Getting only 6 energy for the turn pales in comparison to just automatically getting the 10. And then if you play this card becomes so much stronger, and that makes this card so much stronger. The synergy just kind of runs downstream with these 3 cards. Yeah, incredible stuff. Open Mind Plus is next. 0 energy, gain 2 energy, exhaust. So the only reason to run this card is if you don't have enough Mind's Eye, which you're very likely to not have enough Mind's Eye. This is still an S tier card. 2 energy for free. You could say it wastes the card. Sure, but this is an element where Meditate exists, so you can just cycle through your deck anyway. Yeah, you're really happy to see this card anytime it comes up. Your deck should basically be mostly Mind's Eye and Open Mind, as many Mind's Eye as possible, but since it's a 5-star card, you're not likely to have a lot of them. You're happy to pick up Open Minds to fill in the gap while you're collecting your Mind's Eyes. Great card, fills a nice little niche. Happy to see it. Our other contender for the best card in the game is coming up now, one of the 3, Premonition Plus. We're not going to mince any words. This is just an absolutely insane engine. 1 energy exhaust, draw until you have 9 cards in your hand. So if you empty your hand before you play it, you draw 9 cards for 1 energy. And like, sure, you're probably not waiting till the end of your turn to play it. You're probably fishing for energy cards with this, but it's incredible at fishing for those energy cards. You're probably drawing at least 4 or 5 cards from this one little play, and then it gets itself out of your deck. Absolutely no cost, incredibly strong. We love Premonition Plus. Next up on the list is Reflection Plus. 1 energy, retain, deal 1x power psychic damage, draw a card. It's fine. You know, average, less below average damage, about average card draw. The retain is nice, you can hold it till you need it. It's a fine option, but there's way crazier stuff to do in this element, as we've already talked about. Alright, Remember Plus. Deal 1.5x power psychic damage. Draw 4 cards for 3, retain. Another card kind of saved by the retain tag. You can hold on to it till you need it. In any other element, I'd say an A tier card. But once again, in the context of Psychic, we're going to call this a B tier card. There's just way more efficient ways to draw cards, ways to draw way more cards. The damage tagged on is fine, but you're not playing Psychic to do damage. And that's it. Only 18 cards in Psychic. Nothing too insane to look at here. What am I talking about? It's all insanity. Look at these cards up here in the S tier. Absolutely insanely broken element. The fact that if you know how to get Psychic cards, you can get them on day 1 of the game and just run away with it, playing infinite cards just about every turn. If you build your deck tight enough, you can get it so that you go infinite turn 1 every single game. My poison deck was basically just 3 of these, 2 of these, 3 of these, 8 Nightfalls, and then the core Ribite poison package. And every turn 1, I could put like thousands of poison on any enemy I saw. You can absolutely ruin the game for yourself playing this game plan. Trivialize everything in the game. I was level 25 taking on the final boss, the level 60 Behemoth, and I was not threatened at any point in that fight. It wasn't until I got a Rude Awakening in the Infinite Dungeon that I had to even consider an alternate game plan, and then I just threw a Necronomicon in my deck and rolled over those fights too. Some crazy stuff in here. You'd be happy to run a Psychic Spirit at any time. No notes. Let's consider adjusting stuff. I mean, I kind of just already did it putting this up to the top. Yeah. I can't really see anything in here I'd move. This is just... It's pretty tight. The power level is so unbelievably high that you could justify any order of these 5, honestly, and nothing below this point actually matters to me. I guess, you know what? I would probably put this one a little higher than this. Just because... No. Yeah, because enemies can still damage you if they don't have attack cards. They just can't play attack cards specifically. There are still skills that do damage, and Intangible will protect you from those. But that's the only adjustment within the list I think is necessary. So yeah, this is it. My final Moonstone Island tier list is done. So thank you for spending this time with me. I loved making these for you. It was a lot of fun to go over my thoughts about each card in the game. A lot of them were pretty simple, so for my first foray into tier lists, I didn't have to get into too much minutia. It was a good time. I'm probably going to be making tier lists for other games in the future, but I can't really think of anything else mechanical for Moonstone Island to go over, and I don't know if you guys want to hear about my subjective lists. Like, mechanics-wise, there's not really a point in a crops tier list. Like, the fall crops are just the best in the game almost always, except for a couple of winter crops that are pretty okay. Nothing too surprising there. And if I gave you like a subjective list, like, oh, let's rank my favorite villagers in the game, well, you'd just find out what a simp I am when you saw that all the women would be at the top of the list. And then, yeah, I don't think there's any reason to go into that. So, this should be it for our Moonstone Island tier list experience. If that was all you came to this channel for, I suppose it'd be fine for you to unsubscribe. But I have other games that I play on the channel. I do lots of live streams. I'm currently playing Anode Heart, and I hope to do tier lists on that game in the future. It's another creature collector game, so if you're interested in creature collectors, it's a little different than Moonstone Island. It's like a turn-based RPG a la Pokemon, but way more interesting. They got like a dual resource system where you have to use both abilities TP and CP, the TP being how fast the ability is and how many you can fit into a turn, and the CP being how many times total you can use it in a battle. So unlike Pokemon, where you end up spamming one damaging ability over and over again, it really forces you to use all 7 of your creature's abilities every single turn. It's a really deep, interesting battle system, and there's a lot to go over there. It was made by a single person and it's dirt cheap on Steam. It's kind of what I consider the platonic ideal of an indie game. So if you've never seen it in action, why don't you go check out my episode 1 stream VOD and see if it's something you'd be interested in playing for yourself. Sand, if you're listening to this, I think it'd be a great idea for your next collaboration if you reached out to Stowe. Kobo would be a great spirit for Moonstone Island, and you could port Sheep as is to Anode Heart, and it would actually be pretty powerful over there with its passive. So, cool idea for a collaboration. I can't believe we're out of Moonstone Island cards already, though. I'm kind of thinking that maybe like the day I post this video, Kate might announce 100 new cards added to the game. That's what felt like happened when I finished my Spirit tier list. Like minutes after I got it out, you guys announced those 4 new spirits. So fingers crossed, maybe the same is gonna happen this time, but I doubt it. Until next time, this has been Alex, Alchin, Altune, whatever the heck you want to call me. Thanks for spending this time with me. I hope you come back again, but since this is my last Moonstone Island video, I'd understand if this is the last time you ever stop in here. So thanks for giving me the time that you did. I appreciate absolutely every single moment of it. And if I never see you again, thank you so, so much. Goodbye for now.